In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the anxiously attached or the wave style individual. Now, I mentioned this in another one of the videos that these are always ishnesses, so they're not really black or white styles, but people will generally have a tendency towards being stronger in one area. So there'll be areas where they're definitely secure, but then other areas where they may show up with one of these insecure attachment styles. And so the anxious person, when you meet them, you will hear quite a lot often about their past dating history, and you will hear things like they jump from one relationship to a next. So there's not a lot of space in between their relationships. You will also find that there's still quite a lot of emotion there regarding past relationships. So the anxious person tends to experience past relationships of the person being emotionally unavailable or missing in action. They will usually say, a lot of things like they never had enough time, the person wasn't that interested in them, they were workaholics, or somehow they were unavailable to them. And you may also hear evidence that they felt like they'd met the love of their life. This was the greatest love story and it didn't work out for whatever reason, and there's sort of this pining for this great love that they had and they may have lost. The anxious or wave style also tends to be very quick to go deep in the conversation. So they may ask you a lot of questions and they may ask a lot of personal information that might not seem appropriate for that phase of dating. It might be really too soon to be going, into really deep discussions about your relationship with, your mother or your father if you've just met them an hour before that. But the anxious person tends to go to really personal spaces quite quickly. Another thing that you will notice about this anxious type of personality is they're very quick to respond, like with texting or phone calls. They call you back right away, so they don't leave sort of a natural gap between connection, reaching out to them. And it's sort of like they're waiting for you to reach out and then they want to respond as quickly as possible. So you never kind of get this feeling like they've got this busy, healthy life that's going on. You feel like they're really waiting, and that can be, for some people, very suffocating, especially in early dating. If you're not the type of person that likes to, chat via text multiple times a day, you'll get this sort of feeling like that's what they're looking for. The other thing about the anxious is they often fish for compliments. So they will ask you questions in order to solicit a compliment, and then they tend to then deflect the compliment. So it could be something like, if you go out for dinner at a restaurant, they'll say, "What do you think of my choice of restaurant?" And when you say, "Oh, it's great, I love this place," then it will be like, "Oh, well, it wasn't really me. It was actually, I just Googled it and I found out that this was one of the top rated restaurants. So, that's okay." Or if you compliment them on their dress or how they look or something, you'll tend to get sort of a deflection back of, "Oh, I don't look great in this dress. I actually look quite fat." So there's this sort of back and forth push-pull of give me a compliment, but when you do, I don't want it and I give it back to you. So those are some early signs that you may notice if you're dating somebody who has a tendency towards the anxious attachment. But again, you will notice that they also demonstrate signs of security as well.